Welcome to HQ Spotlight on this Tuesday. I'm Tommy Tran with you for the first half of the show. Haley Sutton will take over next hour. It's Super Bowl week, and instead of hammering big game storylines you've already heard or have read about, we're going the other way, talking offseason for the 30 teams not playing in Santa Clara this weekend. We're going to start things off with the AFC East. Patriots, of course, used last offseason to bolster their roster en route to an AFC championship in Mike Vrabel's first year in Foxborough. Bills made the playoffs, but the Dolphins and Jets fell short of the regular season. Miami fired its head coach because of it. Got our NFL analyst Lige Douzable to tackle the AFC East free agents. And let's start with the AFC champs here. And you're going with linebacker Boye Mafe this offseason.
Yeah, K'Lavon Chaisson was a guy they signed to a one-year deal, and he maximized his opportunities. 7.5 sacks this past year. Now, he's due to be a free agent, Tommy, but they would most likely like to bring him back. But even if they do bring Chaisson back, I think adding a guy like Boye Mafe will prove pivotal for this team that really struggled at times to get after the quarterback from the edge consistently. He's a guy, if you remember going back 2 years ago, Tommy, had 9 sacks, but he's kind of been pushed down the depth chart since Mike McDonald has come over and taken over as the head coach and defensive coordinator for this team. But a lot of upside, only 25 years old. Kind of reminds me of K'Lavon Chaisson as a guy that has high upside. You could probably get on a 1 or 2 year deal. And Mike Vrabel has been really good at developing young players and getting the best out of them. So I think he makes a lot of sense. Again, push down the depth chart because of DeMarcus Lawrence signing this offseason with Seattle, and also Uchenna Nwosu coming back from injury. So I think he makes a lot of sense to the Patriots.
So we have a list of our top 50 free agents on CBSSports.com, and they have him as a 28th out of 50. Other suitors, Commanders, Patriots, as you mentioned, Colton Bears. And anyone else stand out to you there?
I think the Bears, obviously, Montez Sweat is a guy that's needed a guy opposite of him, so that makes a lot of sense. But I just think Boye Mafe, if you want to see what K'Lavon Chaisson did and then maybe re-enter to the market after a one-year deal, I think the New England Patriots make too much sense for you.
Our staff had him, Mafe, going to the Bucs again at 28. Let's get to the Buffalo Bills, where I feel like they have been trying to do this over the last handful of years, which is get a star pass rusher, but perhaps past his prime. I'm talking Von Miller, Joey Bosa, and in this instance, Khalil Mack.
Yes, they went and dove into the Chargers, free agency pool and got Joey Bosa last year. Why not go with a guy like Khalil Mack? Let's not forget he went to the University of Buffalo. So you essentially be bringing him back home. Yes, he's from the great state of Florida, but going back to where he went to college. This is a guy that dealt with that. You see it right there. He has that cyborg arm thing on. He dealt with an injury last year, but he was able to come back, and he's still one of the best edge defenders when it comes to stopping the run. And we know, Tommy, the Buffalo Bills really struggled last year when it came to stopping the run. So you would always get a uptick in play when it comes to Khalil Mack. You also bring that veteran leadership, and he's a guy that can still affect the quarterback. You talk about bringing in a veteran guy that can rally that defense together. We talked about it, really good against the run. And even at the ginger age of 34, Tommy, can still affect the quarterback. So I think he would be good for that young room. They got a lot of young defensive tackles. They can learn how to be a pro from Khalil Mack.
Why do you think Buffalo's been in this position to go for veterans so much?
I think they're always trying to find that one piece to get them over the top. And me and you, Tommy, we were having a candid conversation. The Von Miller signing made a lot of sense because, remember, he had 8 sacks and then tore his ACL. And that's when things kind of went off the railing for Buffalo. They couldn't really affect the quarterback after that. They literally brought him in because of 13 seconds. That 13-second game in the divisional round versus the Kansas City Chiefs, because you needed an ultimate closer. And Von Miller was that for the first half of the season. He just never bounced back from that injury. They went and get Joey Bosa to try to be the same thing, really tailored off the back end of the season. I like the signing of Khalil Mack because they feel like with Josh Allen, they still have an opportunity to go win a Super Bowl.
Our staff has him 40th out of 50 and having a return from Mack to Chicago with other suitors, Panthers, Seahawks, and Bengals. Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins. I mentioned a change in head coach. Out goes Mike McDaniel. In comes Jeff Hafley. Jeff Hafley needs a quarterback, and Malik Willis would be your pick here. Now, the question then becomes strictly bridge quarterback or potentially something we've seen with a Sam Darnold here in the big game?
So right now, bridge with an opportunity to be the guy like Sam Darnold or a Geno Smith. Now, Tommy, the Dolphins have a lot of work to do when it comes to the cap. And the quarterback that's currently there right now is guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken, $56 million next year. And he has a cap hit over $50 million. That's going to happen no matter what. Could we see a situation where Stephen Ross decides that, you know what, I'm going to eat the check, and we're going to release him and take him off the roster. We saw that with Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. And if you're Jeff Hafley and Eric Sullivan, the new GM, you're very familiar with Malik Willis. You've had him in the building over the last couple years, and every time he's needed to stand in for Jordan Love, he's almost kind of elevated the Packers' play. Like, surprisingly, right? You don't expect that from a backup, but we even saw it last year in the Chicago Bear game on the road. Even though they lost that game, it wasn't because of Malik Willis. It was because the defense really struggled in the second half of that game, stopping Caleb Williams in that offense. So this is a guy that's bided his time. Every time his number has been called, he's come in and elevated and helped his team get wins or put them in positions to win. So I think Malik Willis deserves an opportunity. Again, Miami has a lot of work to do with the cap. And because he's played so well, he could demand something like Justin Fields got last year, a 2-year, $40 million, or even upwards of $45 million deal. So Miami would have to do some work with the books to get Malik Willis under contract.
What stood out to you as you mentioned his play? Of like, was there a drop-off between him and Jordan Love? And then if he's entering a conversation with Tua Tagovailoa here in Miami?
There were more run-centric with him. He becomes more of a run ability besides Jordan Love. Jordan Love likes to spin the ball all around the yard. But Malik Willis, the thing that I really love was his growth, right? And sometimes coaching, not sometimes, Tommy, all the time, coaching matters. And at Tennessee, I don't know if he was getting the best coaching, and I don't know where his confidence was at. But you saw a kid that came in and was poised and was ready for the moment. That leans into what Matt LaFleur did for his confidence in Green Bay. So that's why I think him going to Miami with some familiarity with the GM and also the head coach makes a lot of sense.
Do you think it would be a quarterback battle? Do you think it would be Tua's? Malik would have to wait in the wings? How do you think that would all play out if it goes the way you think it would go?
The way he's about to get paid, he's going to be quarterback number one. I honestly think the Miami Dolphins are going to move off of Tua Tagovailoa, and I think that's going to be best for both parties. Sometimes you just need a fresh start somewhere else. I think for Tua and the Miami Dolphins, it's come to a head.
Our staff has Malik Willis 21st out of 50 going to the Dolphins, so there's an agreement there for you. Other suitors include Colts and Browns. Let's go with the New York Football Jets, gangrene, if you will, here. And last in division, Aaron Glenn comes in, and you go with actually a player that wasn't even in the top 50 of our staff list, and that's quarterback Marcus Mariota.
Which I'm surprised, Tommy, because when you look at the quarterback position, that's the number one prize position in all of football. I went with Marcus Mariota, and I know Jet fans will be like, well, dudes, we got all this money we can spend. We have all this draft capital. Marcus Mariota, they need somebody that's a calming presence at that quarterback position. And right now, when you look at it, you're most likely not going to get Fernando Mendoza at number one because the Las Vegas Raiders are not going to trade off that spot because they feel like he's the quarterback of the future. When you look at the draft and where the Jets are at, it's going to be tough for them to get a quarterback of the future in the first round. I like Marcus Mariota. I believe he started 8 games last year for Jaden Daniels. And even at 32, we saw the athletic ability and him be able to push the ball down the field to scary Terry McLaurin. Again, a calming presence in that locker room, in that huddle, which the Jets need in the worst way. Right now, we don't have an offensive coordinator, Tommy. Right now, we don't have a defensive coordinator. We need to bring in somebody that can bring in some stability, and that's what Marcus Mariota can do. And then if you want to draft or take a flyer on a guy in the second or third round, what better veteran to have? We saw what he meant for Jaden Daniels' game with the Commanders. So I think Marcus Mariota, I know it's not a sexy pickup, but I think that calming presence makes a lot of sense for the Jets, who are trying to figure out who's going to be their quarterback of the future. Right now, it looks like Justin Fields could be released, has some guaranteed money. Tyrod Taylor signed a 2-year deal. He's a free agent after this year. I think Marcus Mariota makes too much sense.
If Dante Moore would have gone into the draft and said go back to school, Jets, he would be in a Jets uniform?
I think he would be in a Jets uniform. I think they would still bring in a guy like Marcus Mariota.
Yeah,
exactly, because Dante Moore, the thing about him, doesn't have a ton of experience, but why not sit behind a guy like Marcus Mariota for a few games until you're ready to take over the mantle of being the quarterback of the New York Jets? So Dante Moore going back to school, I think it kind of hurt the Jets in regards to maybe taking a first-round quarterback. But again, a guy that's a calming presence that can steer that ship right. And the good thing is the Jets have a good young offensive line. So he's going to be comfortable and confident in that offensive line. Got to get a few more playmakers around him with Garrett Wilson, and the Jets could have something with Marcus Mariota.
They've got a lot of draft capital to play with over the next 4 years. Like they're like the Thunder of the NFL.
Correct.
Amassing all the draft capital. Real quickly before we hit a break, what was the most frustrating thing for you and Jets fans watching the Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields experience?
Yeah, it was just the inconsistency at quarterback play. And then I would say also the back half of the season, because there was a middle part of the season where I believe the Jets went like 2 for 3 in winning games on a 3-game stretch, but the defense just fell off a wagon the last couple of weeks, and it was historically bad. It wasn't just bad, Tommy, it was historically bad. So there's a lot of changes in New York. There's been a lot of staff changes with the staff, and when you look at it, Aaron Glenn has a lot on his plate because he has to figure out who's going to be the offensive coordinator, who's going to be the defensive coordinator. I think he's come out and said he's going to actually call plays again. So there's a lot of nuances and different moving parts for the New York Jets. I think, again, a calming presence like Marcus Mariota makes sense at quarterback.
Let's look at the priority list of the AFC East with Douzable. The Patriots snapped the 5-year streak that Buffalo had dominated the division. You see the turnaround there. Patriots went 5-1 in the division. That only loss was that rematch with the Bills at Foxborough.